Today, I'm going to show you how I use Dehancer inside DaVinci Resolve to quickly and easily get that film look. This isn't going to be a deep dive on every single effect that Dehancer offers, and I'm not even going to go through every single option of the effects that I am showing you. I'm just going to show you how I personally use it to quickly get that film look with just a few clicks. So for this first shot, this is Montez very early in the morning. So this is a good example of using anamorphic footage early in the morning. So here you can see what it looks like log. This is shot on a FX3 with the 50mm Sirui crop anamorphic lens. So here it is after the log conversion. So this is using the phantom lights, and then here it is after Dehancer. So for this particular one, I've added a lot of noise, some film emulation, some bloom. So I'll walk you through those effects one at a time. My first step was choosing a film emulation. So for this, I settled on Fujifilm Eterna 500 after clicking through and checking out quite a few of the different film stocks. So out of all of them, for this particular shot with this subject, I chose that film stock. You can spend a lot of time in there. It sort of feels almost like you're going through some presets, and there's so many good looks in there, but that's the one I settled on for this shot. From there, I added the Kodak 2383 film emulation. Now what this does is it seems to add a lot of contrast, but in a way that's different than normal contrast. So it just feels richer and deeper, but I'm not sure exactly how to describe it better than that. So yeah, if I play around with the contrast slider down here, or adjust the mid-tones and highlights, or even try and do curves, I can't seem to get this same contrasty look as I get from here. So I very much like using this, and I find often you'll have to find a film stock that matches that print emulation. So sometimes I might just choose a film stock or just choose a print emulation, but often I'll play around with them together until I get the look I'm wanting. All right, from here, the next thing I did was add film grain. Now I'm actually going a little bit overboard here, just because it's YouTube, just to make sure you can see it. So here it is a little bit bigger. So I'll turn that on and off so far so you can see what we've done. So there's the shot with just the normal light applied. And now here it is with the print emulation, the film emulation, and the film grain applied. So you can see us really playing around with the colors there and sort of, yeah, almost giving us the final look that we've got right there. The next effect I experimented with was halation, and I'm loving this on almost all of the shots except this one for some reason. I don't know if it's because of the blue cyan sort of color cast in this shot, but whatever I did, it just sort of seemed to add red in the places I didn't want them. So I didn't want too much around the face, but that's sort of naturally where it went. So I ended up settling on no halation in this shot, but I'll demo that effect in a couple of the other clips. The final effect I used on this shot was the bloom filter. Now this is like using a Pro Mist filter or a glow filter, but obviously done in post digitally, so it's more adjustable. What I personally found is I like using this in conjunction with a mist filter on the camera, and so the two together just give you a really nice look. So I'll turn that on here, and you can just see around these edges here of the light sources, they're just getting a little bit extra glow than what they had before. Now if you'd like to see specifically what areas are being affected, I'm just going to tick mask mode here, and now you can see the areas that are being affected. Now, the way I set it on these parameters is I just played with the settings until I got the effect I wanted. If you turn it up too much, it applies to too many things. And if you turn it down too much, you'll find it won't affect anything at all. So just playing with these sliders until you get what you want. So for example, it's affecting nothing here. And then here, I just feel like there's too many things glowing. So I just dragged it down till I got a level that seemed to affect mainly the light sources, left it there, and then toggled it on and off to ensure that I'm getting the effect I wanted. So it's subtle, but it's really one of those finishing touches. And the default settings often work, or you just need one slider adjustment, so you can really get a great look with just a couple of clicks. For our second shot, we'll go with something that looks completely different. So we'll go broad daylight, a lighter skin tone, and the Sony kit lens instead of the anamorphic lenses used in the first shot. So this absolute legend is Ben, and he's an awesome guy, but he doesn't pay me enough for proper color grading, so that's why we're going to do the quick and dirty with Dehancer. So we'll start off here with a log image, and then I've got my first node where I'm applying the LUT. This is a good time to mention that you don't actually need to do that because Dehancer itself recognizes different cameras. So instead of going with a Rec 709 input, I can actually choose my camera from here. I think it's this one is what I shot this in, and then it'll do the color adjustment there, and then I can do everything in this one node. So that's another option, but I'm personally liking doing Rec 709 and doing the base LUT on a separate node. Just that way it really helps me visualize what the plugin itself is doing, because I can easily toggle it off and on there as separate nodes. Maybe once I get better, I might do it all in one node and use this source, but for the moment and for this video, I'm definitely using a LUT beforehand. I'll walk you through each of the effects I've used from Dehancer on this clip. So first off, I played with the film input and I went through quite a few different options, but I ended up finding that no film emulation looked better than how the shot just looked. So I ended up going no film emulation. From here, I went for the print emulation, so the Kodak 2383. Again, I'm loving this, just like the last shot. It seems to add a lot of contrast in a way that I can't replicate using contrast sliders or the other controls. It's just got a richness to it. I'm clipping highlights a little bit here, but I don't mind. The shot looks so much better in general that I'm happy to accept that compromise. From here, I added halation. Now, what I'm loving about this is if I turn it on here, you can see it sort of warms up the shot in a way by adding little bits of red, but at the same time, it's not just tinting the whole shot yellower or anything like that, like you'd get if you just did a mid-tone adjustment. So I'm getting sort of warmth without the image looking warmer, which might sound a bit weird, but I feel like I'm getting that look. If I click mask mode, you can see it's not applying to a whole lot. It's just adding bits of red around certain areas, so a little bit around him. So it's definitely warming up the shot, but I'm loving it and the shot doesn't look too warm. So there. And then for the final thing, I'm adding bloom. Now, I didn't use a mist filter on this shot. It's just a 24-105 in a more run and gun situation. So if I mask that one off, you can see it's not applying to a lot of areas. It's just doing little areas, but it's giving me that nice look. So I'll turn that on and off. And you can see, especially around here where the highlights are, I'm just getting that little bloom effect, and it sort of almost looks like I'm running a subtle mist filter, and it's not really ruining the sharpness anywhere else in the image. Just around these highlight areas, I'm getting a bit of blooming that looks really nice and visually pleasing to me. So that's with Dehancer, all those 4 effects I've applied, and there's without. So you can see what difference it's doing. Now, some of this you could get just by using the sliders in DaVinci, but I feel like I've just done a couple of clicks here. A lot of these things are left at default settings, and I've got a really filmic look that I'm really happy with in just a couple of seconds. Our final clip is something completely different again. So this is a music video my wife and I shot about 18 months ago on some Fujifilm X-T3s. This is from before we switched to Sony, and it was actually our first music video, but I think we did a pretty good job considering. So here's how the final image looks, and then here's how it looked straight out of camera. So this is just the 10-bit F-Log. I've then applied the official Fujifilm Eternal LUT to get to this position. And then here's how it looks after we've added all the Dehancer effects. So again, I'll walk you through those one at a time. So first off, we played with the film, and I tried a couple of different looks, especially the Fuji ones. But after going through them, I couldn't find something that looked better than this, and I gave up pretty quickly, if I'm being honest, just because this already looks so good as a starting point for me. I didn't want to play with the colors too much. Next up, I did try the print because everyone loves the 2383, and I've had so much success with it in the other shots. But here I found it was just giving me too much contrast. Now, this is probably just because of the lighting ratios in this particular shot, with it being very high key here and then very dark here. So there's already a lot of contrast, so I think that's why it's not working in this shot. But I think it was definitely worth experimenting with and trying, as it's only a couple of clicks. From here, I had film grain, which I absolutely love. Nobody can talk me out of it. It's the best thing ever. I've set it on 10 here. I think for this particular music video, I would definitely leave it a lot noisier than I would some of my other footage, just because I really feel like it suits this style of music. From here, we added halation because I absolutely love it, and you can see what it's doing if I enter mask mode here. Again, I've gone pretty heavy-handed with this, so it's lighting up the whole guitar, his whole outline, and then this brand on his shirt here is really glowing, as well as his ear. So this seems like, when I'm looking at it here, complete overkill. But when I see it here, I can definitely see it, but it feels really nice in person. So I'll turn it off there, and you can see we're definitely losing a little bit of detail. But again, it's giving us that warmth where the whole image feels warmer without it feeling like I've tinted the whole shot yellow or red or anything. So I'm absolutely loving it. And I feel like it has that vintage look, like I've shot it with like a vintage anamorphic lens, even though it's actually a super sharp Fuji lens. Our final effect for this clip is bloom. So I'll turn that on here, and you can see it's definitely giving a lot of glow in the face and sort of softening up the image in a nice way where it doesn't look blurred, but just sort of looks a bit more filmic and a bit more like it was shot on a vintage lens. Now, if we enter mask mode, you can see the areas being affected. So it's very much cutting him out with the all around glow, as well as the whole guitar and most of the details in there glowing, as well as the other band player here. Now, what I would have expected is actually a lot more glow around these light sources here. I would have expected big glows, but no matter what set of parameters I set for the bloom filter, I couldn't get these lights to glow anymore without causing him to just glow overboard and sort of blow out the whole shot. Having said that, I'm really happy with the look of this effect, even without it, as there's already quite a bit of glow and bloom around those lights. So I'm happy with the look, and I'm really happy with this end result. As you can see from here, that's the log conversion. And then here's the final with all the dehancer effects applied. The band's really happy with it. Dehancer's only currently available for DaVinci Resolve, but they are planning a version for Final Cut Pro due out before the end of this year. The good news is there's a free trial version you can download. Now, this only works in a 1080p timeline, but it includes all the tools, so you can try everything out and see how it goes with your footage and if you're happy with the look before you purchase anything. Now, Dehancer Pro is the best package they've got, and this is what they offered me for free in return for making this video, and that includes all the effects here, and I've highlighted my favorite 5, which are the film profiles, the 2383, the grain, the bloom, and the halation. Now, there is a cheaper option, which is Dehancer Lite, and that includes most of the stuff, but halation and the 2383 emulation are notably missing. So I'd recommend definitely getting Dehancer Pro if you can afford it, because those are 2 of my favorite effects. Alternatively, if you just want grain or bloom or halation, those are available as individual plugins at an even cheaper price. But again, I really like the effect you get by stacking all of them, so I'd go with this option if it's in the budget. They were kind enough to give us an affiliated discount code, which is SNIBBY10, that'll give you 10% off any of these prices, so you can use that to save a little bit of money and support this channel. Thanks for watching, guys. I had so much fun making this video and playing around with all the footage, trying to get that filmic look. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, please leave them below. And other than that, I'll catch you in the next video. I love behind the scenes videos, so I thought I'd share this at the end of the episode. So the background camera was mounted on this Manfrotto tripod, and it was lit up by this Aputure M9, which is plugged into a little USB-C power bank. Even though it's running at minimum power, I wanted to plug it in just to make sure I didn't run out of juice under any circumstance. For the key light, we're using an SGC tube. Now, I got this because it also uses Sidus Link, that way it's all using the one system. And even though I'm shooting at 5500K on the camera, I've got the light set to 4750, as that seems to give me the right color balance for my skin. For audio, we're using the Rode NT1A, and I'm piping that directly into the FX3 using my fake XLR K3M adapter. It's a modified FX3 handle. That way I don't have to worry about syncing afterwards. And then I'm monitoring it using a small HD 7-inch touch. For the computer side of things, we're using DaVinci Resolve to edit, and I recorded it using OBS Studio to capture the screen, and then I plugged in the Rode VideoMic NTG into the computer and used that as a microphone input. Just that way I could easily sync up the screen recording with the camera recording using the audio and not having to put in any more effort to align the clips.